I knew that my heart was here. I didn't want to go, but like, I guess my body wanted to go do stuff.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 68. We're Emma and Finn.
Drip, drip, here comes an eargasm.
What?
It's Outcast.
I know! What does that have to do with episode 68?
We were working out earlier today and we heard that song and I thought, we're about to drop an eargasm. I hope we don't get sued.
No. Why would we get sued?
I guess we're... Anyway, welcome to the show. Sorry about that.
Today we have a really cool interview with Sara and Pete. They are bloggers over at the Swinging Cajuns.
Yeah, they're the masterminds behind that blog. It's an awesome blog, and we definitely say check it out. They'll tell you a little more about it. Actually, they probably won't because they didn't really touch on it, but basically you're going to hear their story, and their blog goes into some details that aren't covered here, but they also go into some details here that aren't covered there. So it's actually a pretty amazing interview. Yeah,
and you can also find links to their Twitter handles and the blog on our show notes page. If you want to check them out, please do. We do have a quick update too on this show specifically. We added an addendum at the end of the show.
Yeah, so basically throughout, when we were talking to them, and sometimes this happens when we're talking to people, stuff gets said that we don't like to interrupt people and get super strict clarification on everything. But as I was editing it, there was a couple of things that came up that I could see would not necessarily be triggering for people, but came off like maybe Pete was kind of a controlling dick, and he's definitely not.
No.
And so we called him back a few nights ago, really late, sorry guys, and we just had a quick 5-minute chat about it. So please don't jump to conclusions. Pete's a really nice guy, and
listen to the addendum too.
Just listen to the addendum. And the other quick note that we had was towards the end there's a little bit of a dog barking noise. It's pretty quiet, sounds like a cute dog. Really, I don't know why I bothered to tell you. It's on their end. Blame them, not us.
Yes. Well, okay. It could have been. I guess it wasn't on our end. We know that for sure.
Yeah, we do.
Anyway, usually they're on our end.
Usually it's chickens and shit. But,
yeah.
All right.
But real quick, a shout out to Ziggy for
Siggy.
That's
you
what
did
I
this?
said.
No, you said Ziggy again.
Siggy.
Siggy.
For the awesome music for the intro. That's all I was getting at. I said it right, didn't I?
Yep, it was perfect. We were last week in Atlanta at Atlanta Poly Weekend. We just wanted to say, thank you to everyone who stopped by the booth. Anybody, new listeners that we picked up there, we're happy to have you, and we're excited for all the people that we talked to that want to come on the show. So we're really excited to get that going, and all of the amazing people we met that supported us while we were there, and we got to know.
Yeah. Well, that was an amazing trip, and we actually have another really fun trip coming up. We'll be in Portland, Oregon, from June 24th to July 1st.
Sorry, Portland, Maine. I know you got excited.
I know. Well, someday we'll be to Portland, Maine, too. But we're going to a conference, and it's called the World Domination Summit. If you happen to be out in Portland and want to reach out, please do. We'd love to hear from people out there if you have any recommendations. Also, if you're going to be part of the conference, definitely let us know that too. If you want to know more about the conference, go to our show notes. And there'll be a link there. Go check it out. It's going to be super cool. It is not related to non-monogamy, but full of super badass people.
Or domination. There's no BDSM that we know of.
No.
That's not why we signed up.
And so we're going to get into the show here. But first, we do have a big announcement today, and so we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about that, and then we'll get into the show.
Yep. So the announcement is we decided to launch a Patreon page. So before you roll your eyes, unroll them. I know you just rolled them. We're not creating any special content here. There's no special blogs. There's no special episodes.
No, our content for this podcast will always be free. We really believe in that. We're sharing people's stories. It's all your own stories, and we want that all to be free content.
But what we have had is a lot of people reaching out to us and talking to us saying, first, how can we support you? And second, we wish there was more of a community around your show. And so what we're going to do is try to build that community, and we're going to use this platform to do that. Not because we don't think a community should be free, but we kind of want to keep out a lot of the trolls and the bad apples.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's exorbitantly expensive, but so where we've gone is there's 2 levels. There's Team Finn and Team Emma.
Yep. You describe Team Finn, I'll describe Team Emma.
Well, that's not fair. Mine's so short.
I know.
Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said that. I said mine's short. Anyway, too much information. So for Team Finn, what you get is we're doing a monthly Q&A, like video chat conference thing with anybody at the $2 Team Finn level.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's pretty much what you get there, which is quite a bit.
Yeah, you get to join the Q&A, a monthly Q&A. For Team Emma is a $5 amount level, and that one you get to also be part of the monthly Q&A, but you also get to submit questions as part of that Q&A. We will answer
ahead of time.
Right, ahead of time. We will make sure to answer all of the questions we received ahead of time from those team members before we open it up for other general questions. And then the other thing you'll get is you'll get to join our Discord community.
Yeah, so Discord is like it's a server, kind of a big chat room kind of thing, but it will be private for only people at this level. Again, just to try and keep out trolls and shitty people from being shitty. So we also have full control over it. So if there's someone who gets in that's shitty, we'll kick their ass out. Anyway,
we will.
The whole premise
Don't
behind
be shitty
this.
People.
The whole premise behind this is to build a community around this. Let people get in there and interact with each other, talk, share stories, share ideas, ask questions, get feedback. It's really just a community sort of crowdsourced information source.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sources.
Yeah, that's okay.
So that's what's going to happen in there. We'll be in there. We'll be chatting, answering questions, and who knows what else.
Yeah, we're super excited about this, if you can't tell. And I just wanted to mention, too, our first monthly Q&A is going to be at the end of July. So we wanted to give people the time to sign up and hear about this before we actually did a Q&A. So that's kind of the timeline we're thinking.
The other thing you get, there's more. But wait, there's more. We'll be doing like random giveaways of stuff. We've had sponsors give us lots of stuff. We have buckets of free condoms and free lube and all sorts of cool stuff. Maybe lingerie, who knows? Boxer briefs, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see. But we definitely want to do some random free giveaways.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on that. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the show notes below. It's also in the show notes on our webpage, or you can go to patreon.com/NNM podcast.
Yes. A reminder, you can find us at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. On that website are links to all of the show notes for all of our shows, as well as links to all of our resources that we always promote. And you can find the Patreon link there too.
Yep.
And contact us if you have any questions or feedback.
Or want to come on the show.
Yes. Go to the contact page on our website and let us know.
Yeah. So we're super excited about all that. And don't feel bad if you don't want to or can't afford the $2 or $5 a month. Again, you still get all of the information that we're going to put out. You're never going to get shorted on a show. We're excited to have that, and we still love you anyways.
Oh, definitely.
Whoa. Easy. Start charging $4.99 a minute.
I know.
Like that.
I know.
All right, let's get out of here and hear what Sara and Pete have to say about their awesomeness.
Yeah, this is a pretty sweet interview. Welcome, Pete and Sara. We have
Swinging Cajuns.
Yeah, Swinging Cajuns with us tonight. And we're excited to talk to you.
Well, hold on. What's a Swinging Cajun?
I was going to let them explain
Okay,
that.
well, what's a Swinging Cajun?
Well, we're in Louisiana.
Okay.
And we're Coonasses or Cajuns, and we swing, so it was just an easy jump.
Excellent. And it's also, I've heard it's like a blog, maybe?
Yes, we have a blog. It's swingingcajuns.com.
Perfect. So we reached out to you, I think, just got chatting on Twitter a couple months back, and we finally been able to connect, which is awesome because you have one of the dynamics, the starts to your story that we really love to hear because it's a little untraditional, and I think it's, I don't know, I love it personally.
Well, I love to hear that it's working out. That's what it is. It's not necessarily fun, I'd imagine, but it's
not at the beginning.
No.
And now that we've confused everybody, maybe we should let you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and then maybe how you got started.
Okay. Well, I'm Pete, and
I'm Sara.
And this whole thing was completely unexpected and very much out of left field. We've been married for 6 years now. A couple of years ago, we ran into a bump in the road because we were a little comfortable.
Complacent.
Yeah, very comfortable. I'm very much a romantic and showed that intently in the first few years of our marriage. And so we were blessed with a child, and that took up pretty much all of our emotion and energy. Really all got fed into that. And I think a lot of what I was doing that really captured her heart in the beginning kind of subsided a little bit. To Sarah's extent, she had a lot go on early in life that kind of took away a bit of her opportunity to run around and explore both her sexuality and just dating in general and experiencing other relationships. So we got together, and after hitting that moment of complacency, I think she had an opportunity out with some friends to see what it felt like to have other people giving her some attention and making her feel that desire and that want, that newness kind of thing again. And it actually kind of scared her a
some
little
girlfriends
bit.
And I went to we have daiquiri shops here. They're drive-through. You can get your daiquiri as you head out back onto the road. And a lot of them are like, they have like live bands and stuff like that. So we all went to this daiquiri shop, and literally the entire place, because it's all people that go there all the time. So it's new faces, it's girls. We don't have any guys with us. And I mean, it was like we were loaded when we left, didn't buy a drink. I mean, they were all, so it was just like kind of an awakening. You know, with work, you don't see that. I'm basically working kids. So that kind of thing doesn't really happen. And I came home and I'm just like, I can't tell him about it because he would obviously freak out. I mean, what wife comes home and says, hey, baby, I got hit on tonight by, all these people. So I guess I kind of tucked it away. And then I was standing in a coffee shop one day, and somebody made a comment to me that was just like, very unexpected, and turned around, and there's this really good looking guy there, and he ended up giving me his business card, and I left like that was it. And there was no I didn't really think about it for a few weeks. And then it was just like, I mean, it come home from work, and I was working a lot then, and it's kids, and then go to bed. And I mean, he used to leave notes on my car at work, write me songs. I mean, like the whole sappy romantic thing that everybody does. He was all that, flowers on Tuesday for no reason, like just all this stuff. And like, I haven't seen a flower bud hit this house in, I don't know, 8 months, I don't even remember what your writing looks like because you haven't written me a note,
No notes.
And I'm a little high maintenance. I'm not even gonna lie. So, I text him, and it ended up being, he texts back, and then we're texting all the time, and then it's
being the other guy.
The other guy in our his name is John.
Okay.
So John and I are texting a lot, and then that leads to phone calls, and then that leads to lunches, and so we start having these lunches together. I mean, we did some things. We didn't go all the way with it, but there was physical stuff that went on. And
I understand that during this time, while they're texting and chatting, I get this sense that something's just not right.
Mm-hmm.
she tells me that she has this friend that she's talking to, but it's no big deal. If I trust and believe, and we move on, and we kind of started realizing that there was something wrong, that the ship wasn't smooth sailing as we thought it was, and we needed to kind of fix it and pay attention to some things. But by this point, I think, and for her, the ship was already kind of sailing out a bit, and she was already enjoying the attention and the feedback that she was receiving. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of already in motion and heading that way.
But you didn't know that at the time.
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, I was curious back when you went to the drive-through daiquiri shop, which is an interesting concept on itself. But was that invigorating when you had other guys sort of hitting on you? And I guess, did that sort of spark something I
think it did. So when you get married very, very young, I mean, my ex-husband and I were married, I think 15 years. And I jumped out of that relationship, and we had already been friends. We kind of, knew each other, and then we started talking, and then one thing led to another.
Pete.
Yes, me and Pete and I. So after my ex-husband and I divorced, he and I started chatting, and it didn't take very long before I knew he was the one. And so there was no all this, from one husband to the next. There was no dating at all. So here I am. I'm in my late 30s. I've kind of hit my stride, and I've never sown your royal seed or dated or flirted or any of this stuff. So I go out and I'm like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And so I think it was just kind of an awakening. What have I missed out on? What did I not get to do? Did I settle too quick? But in that same sense, I had no intention of leaving him. He literally is the best thing in the world. And I'm kind of a hard person, and he's just amazing. So I knew that my heart was here. I didn't want to go, but I guess my body wanted to go do stuff.
Had the sex between you two sort of waned as well over the, when you had kids and sort of settled down and the flowers stopped? Did everything else sort of go along with it?
So it's kind of like everything with us, it's an interesting background. But when we got together, sex for her was more just getting it done, but not really enjoying it to its fullest.
Well, so I don't think that I actually ever had an orgasm with my first husband, or ever, until he and I got together. And, we're texting, and he's, before we got married and all this, before we started really dating, he's like, I'm going to make you get off everywhere. And I'm like, okay, 'cause I don't get off at all. So that's funny. And we, then we get together, and it's like, oh my God, I actually did this. And then it was where I would every time. And then when this happened, so he was trying to say is, when he was kind of realizing the ship was sailing, we started doing date night. So once a week, we would try to go have a date night with just us and not our kids. And so we were kind of trying to reinvigorate the marriage already before I unloaded on him what I was doing. At about that time, I'm like, okay, I can't betray him anymore. I have to stop. So I told John, I'm like, this is fun and all, but I'm out. And it was never an emotional thing. It was just like swinging. It's 100% physical. He didn't want a girlfriend or a wife. I didn't want somebody, chasing me down. I love you, all that, because I was where I wanted to be. And so it was a really good fit, which sounds terrible, but so cut that off. He and I start having these really nice dates and kind of getting to know each other again. And then we just didn't really have it was the communication. I couldn't tell him that I went out and had all this fun. I couldn't tell him that some guy hit on me in the coffee shop. I just felt like I had to protect him. This is a lesson I'm trying to teach my kids right now, is it's much better to be honest than try to protect somebody. You can still have tact and all of that, but you need to be open, and you need to express how you feel and not be afraid of hurting somebody else's feelings, because you're just tucking stuff away for later. Mm-hmm. So we started having what we call tub time, where basically we both climb in the tub, and our kids don't bother us because they know we're in there.
It's a big tub.
It's good and we, candles, bath bombs, whatever. We sit in there probably almost an hour every night, and it's like this is our safe zone. So you can say what you want, I can say what I want. When we get out, it's done. We're not going to carry it on, but this is where we can kind of open and speak freely. And there's something about being naked with somebody where you're like a little more vulnerable and a little more open. So we started doing that, and that kind of led to, I think, a little bit more intimacy, which led to insane sex where I'm like, 48 orgasms in, we probably got to stop now. So,
to answer your question, sex was normal for us when all this started, a few times a week, very normal. But as we've learned, it was rather vanilla sex.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started going through all of this and having these discussions and talking about things, it really opened up discussion about toys and light bondage and flogging and stuff like that we had never had the security, I guess, to be able to bring it up and talk about it with thinking, if I bring this up, she's going to think I'm crazy. I want to tie her to the bed and flog her with this thing, and man, she's going to think I'm nuts just talking about this. So,
and all of this discovery was still before Sara had told you anything about John, right?
A lot of that was like we were discovering all that through this whole process. Like a lot of people, I think when they go through an affair issue, the offending member of the marriage tends to pull away.
Mm-hmm.
The physical attention tends to wane. It drops off. The attention drops off. There's something that shows that they're just not as into you anymore. They're into this other person. And that wasn't the case with us. Her attention to me never died or went away. Sex between us never got to be less emotional or it wasn't enjoyable anymore. It was the exact opposite. Like the more this happened, I think the more she was willing to say a little bit and I was willing to say a little more, and it kind of grew from there. And then we had the
talk,
the night of the reveal.
During tub time?
No, it was after tub time. We had laid down to go to bed.
Well, and I had taken something to help me sleep.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't working, but it is quite the truth serum. So we're sitting there in bed, and I'm like, oh, by the way, I need to tell you something. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so the friend that I have, like, well, he's not really just a friend. Like, we've kind of seen each other a few times. We did a bunch of stuff. We never had sex, and it's over now. So, all right, love you. Good night.
Now that sleeping pill's kicking in.
I part of what I've always done is to research things very well. So when you tell me something that huge, I can't drop it.
No, you can't just roll over and go to sleep, right?
No.
Right.
I need to know everything, and I need to know it all right now. So we literally spent probably the next 3 hours unpacking the whole thing and talking about it in every possible detail you can imagine. Like, because if you're going to do something to me, just do it all. Don't go part way with it. Let's just rip the whole thing open. Let's get it all out right now, and then that way we can move on from it.
Yeah, it was a long night.
Well, at that point, Pete, was there, like, when that came out, did you ever go to the place of, well, now we're over? Or was that...
No, that was never, for me, it was never a thought. It really did never enter my mind. I had a little bit different background than Sara did.
He was a swinger without knowing he was a swinger.
Yeah, I should have been in this community a long time ago. Because I had all my fun. I went and ran around. I was literally in the lifestyle without knowing that I was, or should have been. Most of my partners didn't know that. But that's the way I was then. And when I met Sara, for whatever reason, part of me literally just shut down. Like, I did not have a desire for other women. I did not see other people
God,
as desirable
it was so bad.
or want, like, you know, normal guys see a hot girl crossing the street, you know, and be like, damn, you know, I was
It could be
oblivious.
like a naked Playboy model right here, and I'm like, baby, she's hot. He's like, there's another woman in the room. I can't see anyone because of your beauty. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That's a little.
You gotta see her.
Pretty
Yeah.
close.
So, well, and you know, it does something too when you're like, hey, do I look okay? And he's like, yeah, you look great. Okay, well, you don't see anybody else, so that's not even there's no validity to you telling me that I look nice when you don't see anybody else. So
Right.
I think that was part of it too. Like, I want you to see.
She didn't believe me.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's really common, though. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's very common. I think a lot of relationships, you know, we as men always get, at least I was brought up that you just cherish women. You compliment them. You always tell them how gorgeous and beautiful they are. And so I would always say these things to her. But like she said, I'm only looking at her. So in her mind, there's not a lot of validity to it. Not quite the case today. She believes me a little more today because we have a few more people that that back up what I tell her. But
so anyway, moving on.
I guess jumping back to that point where you told him about the affair, how did you move forward after that long night of talking? What were the next steps, I guess, that you weren't going to break up, but you obviously need to work through it.
Right. And both of us moved in a different direction at a different speed.
So we have kids. We have a blended family. You know, you can't go out, and we were both previously married before. We both were married one time. So having the kids think about a divorce again is something that we didn't want to do. So it was very much, you know, crying and all that behind the closed door, and then shutting the door, and then going out and for the family and being, you know, okay, everything is great, you know. So our tough times got much longer. I mean, we've sat in there 2 and 3 hours having to add hot water, and, you know, and a lot of it was just like, I was in a place where I didn't care what you needed. I was going to do it because I had done this terrible thing and I had work to do. And he was very much, okay, I just need to understand what happened and figure out what we're going to do to not have that happen again. And, you know, it's very easy to blame the person who does the cheating, and I've been in both situations. I have been the victim of the affair, and I have been the cheater. And I will tell you that it is much more difficult to be the cheater because, like, you know that you've hurt this person that you love more than anything, and you want to go back and undo it, but you can't. So now you just got to fix it. Whereas when you're the victim of the affair, it just hurts. Like, you didn't do anything wrong. It is the worst pain ever because it's the betrayal, but knowing that you inflicted that on somebody that you care more about than anybody else in the world is brutal. So, like, I knew that I had to get to a place where it was basically, whatever you need, I will do. I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to leave, whatever. If you never want me, if you want my phone, here's my phone. So, like, he has my password. I installed an app on my phone so he could see where I was all the time. There's no need for me at all to have anything that he was not involved in. So I made sure that he always knew where I was, who I was with, you want to see my phone here, you can have it. I haven't deleted anything, So it was just a long period of, I guess, kind of digging in and starting over.
Rebuilding.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and it was...
On your side, Pete, these are the things she was offering or trying to give. What did you want, or what did you need to move on and help?
I wanted to. I had a need to know, like I said before, everything that happened, because if you have any type of imagination, when you hear this story, you start picturing it. Mm-hmm. You start seeing it, and the less detail you have, the more detail you fill in. Mm-hmm. Yep. So without knowing what was said. What'd you do? Where'd he touch you? How'd you touch him? How'd it feel? What'd he say about you? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you get off? Without knowing all these things, you start creating this huge lie in your own head. And so for me, I just wanted answers. That was it. I wanted answers, and I just wanted her to be open and honest about everything. And she really did everything perfectly. I mean, she couldn't have been more accommodating and open, and I need to know where you are. And, I just pulled up the app and saw that you left 5 minutes ago. Why were you there this amount of time? Well, instead of giving me an attitude about asking, she would just answer. And She is not, as much as I love her, she is not the most patient woman in the world.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, it wasn't all perfect because, I mean, at one point he's upset and I'm like, at some point, I'm going to need you to get over this. But right now, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you and I'm sorry, and then I would cry because I'm upset that I'm upset with him. So, like, it wasn't all wine and roses. It was a lot of like, oh my God, wait, I'm sorry. I'm at fault here. Okay. I'm sorry. Like, so, I mean, just because I'm like, when I'm done with something, I'm done. So I was done, and now I'm here. So let's move on.
That's what I meant when I said we went in two different directions, because she, from the end of the affair to the time she told me, was about 4 weeks. And in that time frame, she was able to resolve the entire thing in her mind to know where she was and what she wanted to do moving forward. Whereas when she told me, I was on day 1.
Right.
She was on day 31.
Yeah.
Right. So I started way behind her, and she had gotten to a point where I think a lot of people have trouble, both people outside of the swinging community or lifestyle community, whichever word you want to throw on it. If you're on the outside looking in, you're wondering, how can you have a physical relationship with someone and not have an emotional involvement or not have some type of feelings toward this other person? Because a lot of us associate love and sex together. And I did. So when we went through this, I had to unpack that and undo, 40 some odd years of social learning, and realize that
Catholic school.
Yeah. And realize that it could be different, that a relationship, marriage can have a different look, and that sex with somebody didn't necessarily mean that you were emotionally involved or that you loved that person or that person was a better option than you. It was just different. And it wasn't a very quick reveal.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
and this is where the podcast came in.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I started listening to.
Well, I guess it was the fantasy reveal first. Wasn't that?
Well, when we first started, when she was talking to John, I started listening to Sex with Emily.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever listened to that. She's a sex therapist and just talks about all different kinds of aspects of sex. And
this was before you even knew anything was going on.
It was before I even knew anything. So that was kind of like, hey, let's learn some stuff and see if there's something different we can do. And we realized that somebody has a hidden talent. And we learned how to get her to squirt.
Do we have to say that?
Pretty much whenever. Well, we just did, so.
It's not hidden anymore.
So that was kind of a brand new thing that we learned together.
Well, that was
after
point. The revelation, too.
So, yeah.
It was after.
That had happened, right?
Not long, though.
No.
Like, so after I told him, probably within, 2 weeks, our sex life got nuts. Like, I mean, I've never had sex with anybody where I felt like my soul was jumping out of my body, meeting there somewhere halfway and entwining. And I point in my blog, I think that we were unable to be intimate with each other emotionally or mentally because we were going through this terrible thing. But what we felt for each other was still there. And so sexually, that's where we were intimate and made connections. And I think that was actually a good thing because had we not been so disconnected mentally and emotionally, we would not have had this ability to connect sexually the way that we did. I mean, like we were pretty vanilla, like, you know, sex on the sofa was a big deal. And I mean, the first time this happened, I'd gotten out of the shower and we were on the hard floor in the bathroom. So like, you know, that's when it really got nuts with our sex life. And I think that's one of the reasons why we were able to pull through this as quickly as we did, is because we were still able to be intimate in the most intimate of ways.
Right.
So, and then, you know, that kind of led to more talking about sex in the tub. And then one night he was like, well, let's talk about fantasies. Like, do you have any sexual fantasies? And I'm like,
yes, I do, but I don't really want to tell you
on this one, and we're not going to talk about it. Next topic. Well, now he's like, my God, what is it? And I'm like, okay, I would really like to have two guys, like, because I kind of liked all the attention, and so having two guys give me attention would be amazing.
Right. Well, that was the question I was going to ask. Is so after you revealed this, or even after you cut it off, were you thinking on your end, Sarah, like, you know, maybe there's a way to do this that's on the up and up?
So I had never heard of the lifestyle or swinging or any of that, and I had no clue that was a possibility or potential. I mean, you know, I was raised in a very repressive Christian home, and we weren't even allowed to listen to secular music growing up. We only could listen to church music, and it was almost like a cult-like. So no, I had no idea that any of this existed. He actually started, when I said that's when he started looking for threesome stuff, and then fell upon the lifestyle. And I don't know, maybe Caleb came in at some point. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But you knew you enjoyed the attention, and you knew that that invigorated something in you. You just didn't know that there was an outlet for it that was
correct. And we have a friend that was in the lifestyle. We were not aware of it, and they like talked, and he told them kind of about it. And so then he started listening to podcasts, and the first one that he listened to was Life on the Swing Set, which was his book where they, you know, he and his wife are having trouble, and he's like, well, there's always swinging. And then, so like, that was the first thing that we listened to. And then I listened to it, which I'm not a big podcast person. Like, I like music, and
it was the audio book.
Yeah, it was the book. Like, he'll tell me, listen to this show, it's cool, listen to this show, but mostly he's the podcast junkie. I'm
the reader, she's the peruser.
Right.
Well, so I get in the details, she hits the highlights.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, so I'm curious, and not to cut you off, Sarah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When you reveal to Pete that you're interested in multiple guys, I guess on your end, Pete, how do you process that? Because you're just coming off of, wait. We just went through this in a bad way. Why are we back here again?
Right. No, it was, it took a moment. You know, she said it, and then it kind of has to bounce around in there a little bit. And I had to kind of process, you know, what's the request? Like, what are we really getting to here? Well, it's not another guy, it's attention. I just want to see what it feels like to have this much attention all on me. I don't want another guy to replace you or to be better than you. I just want two more hands and another penis. And let's see what that feels like.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of research, a lot of podcast listening, reading different things, and getting to a point where I'm kind of an all or nothing, learn by immersion.
Yeah.
So I had kind of gotten to a place where I finally decided, well, we'll do this. And I didn't tell her, but I, in my own mind, said, we're going to do everything. Like, this guy's going to have sex with her. She's going to blow him. I'm going to see all of it.
Right.
And I can either handle it or I can't.
Yeah. No, I think
jump in, right?
Yeah, I think that's it's an awesome strategy. And I think one that we were talking before the call, and one of our favorite parts about this whole story is sort of the twist right here of how you made it happen, because I think it would blow most people's minds the route you took.
Yeah. So first off, throughout, like, you cut it off with this other guy, and then throughout those, I guess, months of telling Pete and working through that, were you talking to him at all, or had you cut off communication completely?
No, I was not talking to him.
So then,
I was way deep into our phone bill,
right?
Like every day, so that wasn't happening.
I figured, but I was curious if he had tried to reach out or anything. And
no, and like I said, it was not emotional. So when I said we're done, all right, deuces, like that was it. He's done, I'm done, we're done.
Yeah. So then, as Finn alluded to, how did you set this up to the threesome, I guess, to begin with?
So John and I hooked up over the phone. I obviously had his number because I had dug into our phone bill and stuff quite a bit. So
he had his address, social, and blood type.
Yeah, pretty much. I knew all the real estate he owned, Anyway, so I reached out to him and said, this is after the MFM request was revealed in the tub. So I reached out to him because in my mind, she already had a connection with him, and I knew he was a guy that she would be okay with doing that. So it wasn't like I had to do some intensive search to find a guy to interview somebody. Like, I already knew she liked this guy.
And on top of that, you knew that when she cut it off, he didn't continue to try and press it, right? So it was sort of a safe entity.
Correct. He didn't pursue her. And with all the details of everything that went on with them, it was obvious that he was very respectful and appreciative of her and her position where she was in life. And he wasn't somebody that was going to be a very pressuring individual. So I reached out to him and told him, that I wanted to get together, and he understood that did not mean that I wanted to kill him. That I just wanted to talk. So we did get together, and the initial part of the conversation was obviously clearing the air about everything that had gone on. And he was very apologetic and very forthcoming with any information and answering any questions that I had. And we didn't talk a whole lot about it at that meeting, but I did tell him I wanted to get back with him to discuss something else. And so we had a follow-up conversation, and I hit him with this idea to fulfill her fantasy that was originally supposed to be a birthday gift. But we couldn't work out the exact date, so it was a belated birthday gift. But I think it was a much appreciated gift.
Oh, now it's the second best, because this last birthday was definitely the best.
Yeah. So, but we talked about the whole thing. And if anybody, I think every woman should experience that, because I think it's just an amazing thing for a woman to respectfully and sexually be
Queen Father's Day.
Yeah, exactly. To just be
Everybody
literally.
Can hear this and be like, "Oh my God, she's the biggest high maintenance diva ever." And if you know me, that's so far from the truth.
But just to be worshipped, literally, by two guys. And the thing that we set as the foundation was that I was in charge no matter what. He was only allowed to do whatever I was willing to grant him the freedom to do. So when we first started, he understood that touching and kissing was fine, but that was the full limitation initially, because he knew that this was our first foray into this and didn't want to make the situation uncomfortable or bad in any way.
And he does have some history in the lifestyle, so he was he was not a newbie or anything like that.
He had been in this situation before, not exactly, but in a threesome and that kind of. So he was well aware of what to do and how to do it, and it was pretty cool. I mean, we blindfolded her and got into a whole tag team effect where we were communicating about who's doing what, and just kind of slowly rolled through the whole thing. But he was He was probably the perfect person to go through that, as odd as that would sound. I don't think there's many people in the world that would say that the guy who had an affair with my wife was also the first person we had a threesome with.
Well, and this is the thing is, it ended up being a full swap situation. And I say full swap. I mean, it was just the three of us. So I fucked him. But moving along, before this, it was a lot of, we would be sitting somewhere and I see this look in his eye and I'm like, why are you there? Like, I see you're in a bad place. What can I do to fix it? Like, let's talk about it. Like, I would literally watch him go from happy and okay to just, he's seeing me having an affair. Mm-hmm. And we go do this thing. And a couple of days later, he's like, I haven't had a bad thought since that night. Like, seeing it live eliminated his imagination's ability to run away with him. So as crazy as it sounds, that was probably the most therapeutic thing for him, was to be there and to witness it. And it's never been a hitch since. Like, he's great, I'm great, we're great.
So like I said, when you don't have information, you fill in your own thing, right? You create. So in my mind, man, this guy was just amazing. He was everything, he was all this stuff that I'm not and I couldn't be. And it was something that she wanted enough that she went out and enjoyed time with him. And I added in all this emotional flavor to the story that was never there.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's what I added in on my own. So when we had this, it was seeing everything live right in front of you, and it was all very physical, and there was no emotion at all. And so it literally erased all of that negative thought and established a real thought or a realistic viewpoint, and just demolished all that negative thought that was there before.
I was just saying, I can really relate to that feeling. Like, the thought of something might not be as bad when you see it in person as you make it in your mind, I guess. So I can see it's totally therapeutic to see it happen and to work through all of that is very helpful. And the other point I wanted to make is back a little bit when you said, like, every woman should be the queen for the day. And I totally agree with that. And I think any person should have that opportunity, right? Like, any person should have the opportunity to be the center of attention in a sexual situation for a little bit and try that out, because it's amazing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, part of the deal was, okay, I get mine too, but the freaking unicorns are really, really hard to find.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have this great idea. I'm like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to get with six people. So 3 couples, or was it 3 couples? No, it just has to be 2 couples.
Just the 2 couples.
2 couples and egg timer, 20 minutes.
It's a rotating
threesome.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a threesome going on, one person over here,
right,
watching, hanging out, and then you tap out. And then, so, I think it'd just be fun. It'd have to be with the right people who are nerdy as me, but,
yeah, no, I don't.
Ben's like, hey,
all right, let me check my calendar. So anyway, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of girls are very intimidated by a threesome with 2 guys, and a lot of guys they're like, we don't want that naked, because I don't know, it's just, but it really is a crazy intense thing. Like you said, everybody should definitely be queen or king for the day.
And I love that rotating idea.
Yeah, it would be fun. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely got to be with the right couple. I think there's a lot of things that occurs when you get another person added in to your sexual relationship that you don't really think about beforehand. You kind of prepare for what you might see, but you don't really know how that's going to impact you. And as guys, you can have an impact that can be quite deflating. Mm-hmm. Because you can, whether you're seeing this other guy having sex with your wife and all of a sudden your erection decides to vanquish itself, and how do you come back from that? What do I do? How do I recover from that? Well, this is our first experience. So It was a lot of learning on my part, a lot of excitement on her part.
And you did great.
And we got home, and
Oh
the sex after we
gosh.
got home was even better than the threesome that we had just had.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
and then I know I've heard some
I think the
people
neighbors
talk
called.
about it. Some people have asked about I don't know
The
if there's
fallout?
the drop.
Oh my
There's
God.
a swinger drop or whatever you want to call it, but it's after you have this euphoric moment, and then a day or two later you're almost depressed because you're coming down off of all
It's
this
almost
adrenaline.
like a bipolar swing. Like you have all this euphoric thing, which I've never had since. And I think like there was so much emotion into this. I mean, it was hard for me to have them both there and be comfortable. The blindfold really helped. Like that's what did it.
Yeah, because
And
prior to the blindfold, she was ready to bolt.
I'm like, I'm leaving. I can't.
She
do
was
this.
ready to leave.
Well, that was a question I had. Like, when you when Pete, when you told Sarah, like, okay, we've got a threesome set up, and oh, by the way, it's John. I have to imagine there was a moment of like,
What the?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, when we got to the location and all three of us are kind of chatting, you know, it's kind of the swinger question of the evening is always, how are we going to get this started?
Yeah.
And short of just grabbing somebody and getting after it, you know, you got to kind of figure out a way to ease your way into it. And so she stepped outside for a moment to kind of collect her thoughts a little bit. And I looked at him and said, dude, how are we going to do this? Like, he said, I got this. He said, when she comes back in, I'm going to tell her I want to see you two kiss. And so we started kissing, and I discovered this much later when we unpacked it and talked about it. But while we're kissing, I'm thinking, man, she's really into this. She's like, man, this is a great kiss. She's
Nope.
like all about it.
Nope.
Like, man, this is awesome.
Get
And
the
little did
keys.
I know,
Get me home.
in her mind, she was, had dancing feet and was ready to run. And while we're kissing, John grabbed the blindfold and looked at me and just kind of nodded, and I nodded back yes, and he slid it over her eyes. And once that happened,
Oh, I'm good. Like it was just like I needed that sense gone, so the other ones could enjoy themselves. And oh, yeah, it was heaven. But so we have this great night. It's all emotional. You know, we come home. It's like just I think it's emotions on hyperdrive.
Mm-hmm.
And probably 2 days later, I'm on the back patio, curled up, crying in a chair. Like, how can you love me? Like, we just did this terrible thing. I mean, like, I don't know how I'm going to live with myself. And I can't believe I never want to do this again. I hate this. Like, so bad. Which I'm not, like, I don't have depression. I'm more of a high, like, OCD, everything's type A personality. I don't get depressed. And I'm like, I couldn't handle the amount of sadness that I had. And it probably took 3 or 4 days of us talking through that to get over that. And then.
and that was what was even more unique is prior to the threesome, it was her supporting me emotionally because I was the one in an emotional bad place, and she was helping to bring me up. So we actually have the threesome with John, and all of a sudden I'm the one telling her it's okay. We're gonna be all right. It's not bad. It's all good. We're gonna be okay. You know, and she's having to hear that from me to realize that we didn't do a bad thing, and we didn't hurt our marriage in any way. And we got to being okay and decided that we did enjoy it. It wasn't one thing I have said that I hear a lot in the lifestyle is all men saying, I love to see my wife get fucked by another guy. I love to watch that, which was not the case with me. It wasn't a turn off. It just wasn't a turn on.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And so I was kind of confused in that moment because I'm like, wait, am I doing this right? Because all these guys are way into watching their wives having sex, and I'm not like it.
No, that's me.
Yeah. And
I'm
she's
like,
over
baby, you
here.
look so hot fucking that woman. Oh my God.
She's like, yeah, you go have sex with her because I love watching you. So, but
is it still that way, Pete? Or
yes. For you?
For the most part, for me, it's hit and miss.
It's getting better.
It depends. If the guy and I have like a really good connection, it seems to be less. That's where I enjoy watching her a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I have found out that I'm much more verbal than visual. So the more I hear that she's enjoying herself, the better I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like you need to be blindfolded.
Right, maybe.
Yes, good plan.
That'd probably scare the crap out of me. I don't know. Who's doing what to me? I don't know.
We're actually doing a hotel takeover this weekend. We leave tomorrow, so maybe I'll bring it.
Yeah, no. I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
So jumping back, you had this threesome, and then in the drop after that, where did you progress? Obviously, now you just mentioned you're going to a hotel takeover. You got more into the lifestyle, but how did that progress?
So we decided after that we would try hooking up with another couple, partly because I think she really enjoyed the threesome. I enjoyed it, but not to that level. And I think it was a lot because I didn't receive any attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted somebody giving me attention. You now have this affirmation that this other guy finds you very attractive and is way into you and wants you. I want that. Like, I want to feel that. I want to know what that feels like. So we decided we would try to go on a date and try to see how it was with a couple. And so we set up a profile on Cassidy. It was hilarious because we got it all set up.
We bought the profile.
Paid for the whole year. And about, 3 days into our profile, I get a message back from this couple. And they're like, we'd really love to meet you guys. And I get all excited because
it's the wife.
The wife is very attractive. And I'm like, man, this is great. Let's do this. And so she comes in and I'm like, baby, these people are really into us. Check this out. Like, this is so cool. I'm so excited. And she looks at me and like with fear in her eyes and grabs the phone and walks off with it and comes back 10 minutes later and tells me our entire profile has been deleted. Gone. Everything is gone. We have no profile anymore. And come to find out,
I was a little jealous.
Yeah, somebody was like, oh my goodness, look how excited he is. No, not doing that. And
so then it took me a couple of weeks to get where I was like, oh, well, this is normal, you idiot. Like, this is how it's supposed to be. Now suck it up and let's go. Like, so I created us a new profile and I'm like, okay, we're back. So then, we started kicking a few people. We set up a first date. We knew that we did not want to like just go meet people and have sex or make out or any of that. We wanted to just kind of dip our toes. Let's have drinks. Let's talk about the lifestyle with some like-minded people. So, and we had 1 or 2 dates before we went with.
I think there was 2 dates before anything.
So the
happened.
First day we met some this couple. We're sitting at this. There's a place here. It's Ben 77, and it's so funny because we'll say, okay, where do y'all want to meet for drinks? And every couple says Ben 77. So there's a running joke now that Ben 77 is a swinger joint,
or it's becoming one.
It is, yeah, right. It's becoming one. We love our little waitress there. But anyway, so we go there, we meet him, and we're chatting, and he finds out the line of work that I'm in. And he says, oh, my God, you should talk to blah, 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 first and last name. Him and his wife is blah, 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 and, like, y'all could maybe do some business together.
And that like he was insinuating that couple was in the lifestyle.
No, he said that they were in the lifestyle.
And just dropped their first and last names.
Yes.
Right there.
And so I'm like, well, actually he and the the couple are good friends of mine.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know those people, never heard of them.
Oh, the couple he name dropped was already
were
friends of yours.
of mine. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and so I imagine for you that was a huge well, is it always just a huge violation of privacy every time you meet somebody?
We kind of knew the rule because we had been. I mean, we were listening. Our first podcast was
We Got a Thing.
No, Swinger Diaries.
Well, that's what you listened to first. Was
You
Swinger
did
Diaries.
too.
No,
Anyway, I love Pit a Page. Like they're anyway. So we kind of knew the basic rules. Like you don't say names, you don't talk about work, you don't talk about kids, like all the stuff you talk about with your normal friends, you don't talk about with your LS friends.
Well, and what do you see on every profile? Discretion.
Yeah. So, I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'm texting my girlfriend. I'm like, oh my God, you just said y'all's names. Like, what? And so
did you know your friends were in the lifestyle before this?
Yes.
Oh, you did know. Okay.
But like he didn't know us. He didn't know. So like that's kind of my thing. I think I called them Keith and Stacy in the blog. But yeah, that was you don't name drop on a date. So I'm like, okay, that'll be the last thing with them, And then we have I guess a second or third date. We go have dinner and drinks, and this couple, we just hit it off like crazy. And I've never been with a girl, but I'm like, oh, girls are so pretty, so maybe, I don't know, I have to kind of try it and see if I like it. Well, she's very bi, and they had just got a brand new Jeep, and we're leaving the restaurant, and we're all pretty loaded except for
and everybody's been flirting and just gentle touching and whatever, and we're on the road all
she ends up in my lap
10 seconds, and she undoes her seatbelt and climbs over onto Sarah's lap.
We're like making out the whole way home, and
longest drive ever.
So that was kind of our second date, and I mean it's just kind of rolled from there.
And so were you able to get beyond the jealousy, or has it resurfaced?
It's for both of us, I guess. Either one of us could answer that. But I've had more of an issue with it. Starting off, I wasn't egotistical, but I had a pretty good level of self-confidence prior to the affair, and it pretty much eliminated all of it. Yeah. When that happened, it started making me question, if I was good enough, and the common thing among men, because we all use the wrong measuring stick, but it's, does she want something bigger? Does she want a guy that's more fit? Does she want a guy that's got more money?
Can we ever make them understand that doesn't matter? No,
right.
We can't. It doesn't matter how many times we say, there is a certain point where it's not going to fit. So the bigger's not better. Like, hello. So I think that, I totally lost that. It's gone.
It's fine.
Whole train of thought.
This happens.
It's okay.
Happens to us too. It's all good.
So
an important point there. It's just vacated.
I've had some issues with it early on, but it's pretty much gone now. It's not really something that's a concern now. I mean, the only thing that I don't like now is when I look at a profile. And I'm trying to figure out if this is a guy that she might be into, that she thinks is attractive, because I do all the vetting. So I look at it and I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty hot. She'll like this. And I'm like, hey, baby. And I'll show it. And she's like, nah.
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
I don't have a type.
I don't understand.
So
I don't have a type either, I don't think.
Some girls are like, they're all this height and this, bald, mustache, beard, whatever. And I'm like, it's really just if I can see myself kissing them, then I'm good. And some people most people I have to meet, but there are some people where I'm like, But no, what I was going to say about the whole affair is, it wasn't about what he was lacking. And that's one thing that I think he still hasn't wrapped his head around, is that I didn't go try to find somebody else because there was something missing from him. I went because there was something missing from me and our relationship, but it wasn't him. Like, everything with him is great. It's that there was no more romance or fire or passion. It was, everyday life, and everyday life will kill your marriage. And then it was me not being able to kind of go see what's out there and feeling very trapped in my own life. I'm here now. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm an employee, and I am just stuck. And that was not anywhere that I wanted to be. So,
well, now that she says that was one of the things that she got to, which I thought was a huge, for someone individually to come to this revelation is very big, to realize that you're in a marriage because you choose to be.
mm-hmm.
Right.
You're not in the marriage because the paper says you are and the ring says you are. You're in a marriage because you choose your spouse every day. You choose to be in that relationship. And when this whole thing ended and she had that month to kind of think about it and get to a good point, I think that's what she realized, was that this was exactly where she wanted to be. She wanted to be with me in this marriage together, and she didn't want anything else. She just wanted a little bit more fun, to go out and enjoy ourselves, but to do it together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I guess, to bring it full circle, that's where we are today. Is we just go out with couples. We haven't had a threesome since then. We always go out with couples, and it's always same room. So we always play couples, same room, and our preference is like more of an orgy style, not like you and him on this bed and me and her on this bed, but kind of
like everybody together.
Yeah.
everybody close, hands everywhere, kind of thing.
Fun.
So
Yeah. No, I think it's awesome. And I think, as I tried to say not so eloquently at the beginning, like the way that you two came into it and then navigated it and troubleshot at least some of the issues that you've confronted, and then to wind up where you are, I mean, from start to finish of like a fair beginning till today was less than a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
yeah. So from the time that she started seeing him to the threesome was almost a year.
okay.
No.
That whole time frame, because from the reveal to the threesome was like 6, almost 7 months.
Okay.
That happened, and it's been a full year since then.
5
Okay.
months. It's 5 months. From reveal to threesome was 5 months.
Yeah.
So you're roughly 2 years into it,
Mm-hmm.
all told.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think that's amazing, right? That you were able to overcome these things, and they didn't destroy your marriage, or they've made it stronger. They've spiced up your sex life. You can squirt. I mean, it's all these things.
Well, that came from.
Way to call that out.
I think, people forget that your whole entire life is a choice. You make choices, and sometimes your hand may be a little forced, but you still have a choice in even the worst situations. With marriage, it is I'm going to get up today and I'm going to choose to love and like my spouse, even though some days I want to stab him in the eye. We choose to focus on the fact that we love each other so much, and not the bullshit that we've been through. And I think that's what.
Well, and you've got to learn from your mistakes and learn from your past, and not live in your past.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't let that define your future. You just have to learn from it and make a better future.
Yeah. No, I think that's very well said.
And I was actually just going to propose that, I mean, that like leaving it there for this segment, and maybe because I know you have a time commitment, and I think we could probably pull a lot more awesome information out of you, and maybe we do it again for a future one, because I think there's a lot more to the story, and I think we covered an awesome piece of it. But I mean,
wait, I have one more quick question.
Yeah, go.
Do you still do tub time now?
Yes, we do every night.
Awesome.
Well, most of the time. Every once in a while we have to skip, but most of the time, yes. Probably 6 nights a week we have tub time. It's not always as long, and sometimes it's not like sometimes we get in there and we talk about, and we have, anybody with an ex-wife and an ex-husband can relate to,
just life stuff.
Yeah.
It's not always lifestyle,
fun,
sex stuff.
Nice stuff. Sometimes it's, you did this today and I didn't feel good about it. It didn't make me happy. Or you said this to them and this is how I took it. And so it still is exactly what it was meant to be. And most of the time it is all nice and fun and a way to just kind of wind down from the day and,
reconnect.
Get for bed and yes.
Yeah.
But no, we absolutely still do it and love it. And I don't think, it's rare to say that something devastating was instrumental in creating a better future. But that was definitely the case for us. Going through all of the hurt and the pain that both of us went through all of that, brought us out on the other side. And it wasn't, everybody that's in the lifestyle says they communicate better and it makes their marriage stronger, but ours really got better before we started. Mm-hmm. And this simply improved it, because I wouldn't want anybody to think if you've had an affair, this is how you fix it.
No, that's fix it by talking.
That's not the case. You have to be in a secure marital place. You have to be dedicated to your spouse and know that that's where you want to be forever and ever before you try to include someone else.
Just as a side note, we've gone on dates with people that were not like, when I'm sitting across from you and you're not even looking at your wife and you won't talk to her, you're just focusing on me, I'm out. We like to play with people that are not fully invested in in each other.
Right. You want to pull us in, be all over your spouse.
Yes.
We love that.
We think that's so hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to see y'all kiss.
Yeah, well, I think too, and
you do not do PDA.
Excuse me, I'm doing an interview here. I think the point that you made really early on, which was it never even crossed your mind that the affair was the end. I think that says a lot about where your marriage was and at the start, and I think that's really telling. So I liked that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you so much for just opening up and sharing your whole story with us. I think that the listeners will hopefully find it very useful and something to relate to.
Well, thank you so much for having us on. We felt honored when y'all asked.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're honored anyone comes on the show anyway.
That's true.
Y'all's a great show. I love it because there's it's always different. Like, it's a big variety. The people you interview are all different. The stories are all different. So I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, that's the whole point.
Well, until next time.
Yeah.
Which will happen. We will talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you
all
very
right.
much.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
We're back really quick. There's a short addendum to this interview.
Yeah, remember when we told you that Pete sounded like a dick? Well, I said that. Sorry, Pete. I don't know why I keep saying it.
I know, you keep repeating it. It's not true.
We just wanted to give a few minutes to them, mainly to Pete, to clear up sort of where they are in a little more detail. So let's hear what they have to say. Sorry I called you a dick, Pete. Let's go. You talked about tracking her phone and checking all her messages and all these things. And then when you got together and you talked with John about it, Pete, you were the one who was going to control the whole situation and whatever you said goes, blah, blah, blah. But I guess wanted to get the clarification that Sara had also her own agency and buy-in to that as well. That you weren't necessarily directing her consent.
I was okay with whatever.
Right, yeah, you weren't consenting on her behalf, I guess.
So this is what we had talked previously, before that night, because he had already said, yeah, so I guess he was consenting for me, but not, no, it was what you said was everything, what you say goes, and John was going to follow those orders. So he hadn't promised, anything. So then when we talked about it, he was like, what is your limit? And I'm like, my limit is your limit. So I know that I'm okay to go all the way.
but I don't want you to think that I want to go all the way. Like I want to do whatever you're comfortable with. And we kind of apply that rule now to, like other couples. So like if we're with a soft swap couple, then we're soft swap that night or like whatever. So my limit was no limit, whatever your limit is, if that makes sense.
It's late, so she's going to ramble a bit.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's our fault.
And today work was a shit show.
No, we had that when the conversation first started off in the tub about her fantasy, we had conversation then about what that would look like and what it could be like. She made it very clear that she was perfectly fine to do the full extent of everything.
Okay.
But she was only willing to do it as long as I was comfortable and I was okay with whatever, which is why when we got to that point and it was whatever I say goes, she was perfectly fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes...
Do you think you can work that? Do you think you can...
Yeah, other than you said her name.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Well,
God damn it.
You want me to say it all over again without her name?
Got a little editing magic.
No, I'll make it work. I've done more magic than that. That was the main piece because I could just hear.
Oh my God! Yes.
Like he was doing this all, and you had no say in it.
Right.
Oh my God! Are they like an 1800s couple?
Right.
Yeah.
Does she wear a bonnet? Right.
And
no, it was very much a
They've just never met me.
Her idea, and then, and that's, I don't remember if we really talked about it much, but that was one of the big things with all of it was that she was able to make that love and sex together separation way early in her transition period than I was. Mm-hmm. So by the time her and by the time she even told me about the fantasy, she was already there. Whereas I was still trying to navigate through everything.
Right.
And
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. And we just wanted to get clarification. So anybody listening that picked up on that and was thinking, this guy's an asshole, we wanted to clarify that you might be, but not because of those reasons.
Right, absolutely. See, it's those kind of comments that are missing from this show.
So,
well, there it is.
Well, the other one I wanted to bring up was, and along those same lines, is that, and maybe I am wrong here, but you don't necessarily still feel the need to like track her every movement and go through her phone every day. That was early on in the getting over. That was part of the healing process, and it is.
I don't think he was there when the MFM happened. Like, if I remember right, you had you might look every once in a while, but it wasn't like the obsession. I think you had pretty much quit.
I mean, by the time we got to actually having the MFM, that was 6 months down the road, and I had stopped checking phone records months before that.
Sure.
And even the tracking app, we laugh about it now because
our freaking kids. I
only look at it now whenever I'm like, well, I'm just wanting to know if she's almost home. Like, is she almost home yet?
Oh, and that's how our adult child busted us, because we were at Colette's and she Googled the address because we didn't turn off our location.
For some unknown reason, her phone dings every time I leave work, if I go to the gym.
I tried to shut that off. It will not shut off. It's possessed.
So here we are years later. She's still tracking my every move.
Well, I'm glad that the tables have turned. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming back on and clearing that up. We appreciate it.
Late at night for all of us. On a work night.
But we had to get that out there because we knew it had gotten better, and we wanted to make sure that you were able to tell everyone yourselves.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
Pete is such a nice guy.
Yeah.
I can't believe anyone would call him a dick.
I know, you keep doing that.
Anyway.
They're both, Sara and Pete, are wonderful people.
They're amazing people. And thank you to them for coming on, giving us the opportunity to share their story with our community, and for helping anybody else who might be going through a similar situation. It wasn't an easy one, and we just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk about it.
Yes, of course.
And I'm really sorry my wife thinks you're a dick.
I never said that. Never, ever said that.
So next week, do we need to... You didn't write any notes down.
We didn't write any notes down.
She's stumped because she doesn't have notes. But luckily, I'm here to save the day.
I remember. We have a...
We don't tell them all of the secrets. Let's just say...
I'm just going to say we have a big week next week.
It's a big week. Not like if you're a birder and you go out for a big week and you try to see as many birds.
That's a big day.
Well, but there's also a big year. Probably a big week.
Yeah. But okay. But we're not birders. This is a podcast.
It is.
Not about birds.
Although what? So next week,
talk about my dad.
Next week, we will see you on Monday for a return guest special episode.
Yes. We have a previous guest that have another update, and we're really excited to share it with you. That'll be on a Monday episode.
That will be Sean and Jess from episode 34.
Yes.
So go back, if you haven't, and listen to episode 34. We normally wouldn't say that. Like, you're usually fine listening to these in any order, but it's going to be good for you and for you to go back and listen.
Have a little context for this one.
So, you'll still be welcome, but it will make more sense.
Yes.
And then we'll see you on Wednesday, and, maybe again. I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Anyway, thank you to everyone for your support. Thank you to Pete and Sara. Thank you to anybody who decided to be a patron.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, throwing it out there. I don't know. We got to try somewhere.
And let's go have a big week. See some birds.
Bye, everyone.